BX in the morning. Oh, it's Monday, and it's time to go to the phone. How do you like hearing your own tunes there, Tommy?
Hey, it's okay. I think you owe me some money.
Wait a minute.
You got that royalty now.
You never got money from Morris, so you're not going to get money from
I'm taking it everywhere I can get. That'll be 3 cents, please.
Okay, I think we can handle it.
I can take that from Steve's paycheck.
How you doing?
Good. How are you this morning, Tommy?
I'm great. I feel good. Thank you.
Good. We got Tommy James with us this morning here in the Big Teddy, Michigan's Big Oldies.
And the first question I wanted to ask, because I already know the answer, but it just reminded me when we were playing Money is, how did you come up with that title?
Well, it's a true story. What happened? We tell the story in the book, actually, about...
Yeah.
I had an apartment right in Midtown Manhattan when we wrote Money, and we actually had the track before we had the vocal, and we sort of wrote the words around the song, and we had all the words written except we needed a girl's name as a title, and we had no title, and everything we came up with sounded so stupid. So Richie Cordell, my writing partner, and I threw our guitars down. It was the night before I was supposed to go in and do the lead vocal, and we just happened to be looking up in the sky, went out on the terrace, lit up a cigarette, and looked up and see the Mutual of New York Insurance Company sign, MONY, flashing at us, and we just thought that was such an incredible moment. That was like God saying, here's the title. And, so Mony, M-O-N-Y, became the name of the song. I've often said if we'd been looking in the other direction, we were so desperate that it could have been Howard Johnson, real easy.
So that wouldn't have worked.
Just didn't have that ring to it.
No, that's right.
Hey, Tommy, Ron Beerup, one of our listeners, has a question for you. You wanted to know. I'm just gonna pose it right from how he wrote it here. The question for Tommy, when you have him on for the interview, is where did you meet Richie Cordell?
Richie Cordell actually came to me with It's Only Love and I Think We're Alone Now, and he was a writer from Kama Sutra, and he was a friend of who ended up being my wife, the lady who ended up being my wife from Roulette, her best friend's boyfriend. And the truth is, he was really a terrifically talented songwriter over at Kama Sutra, and he brought me a whole lot of music and people that Roulette at that time really desperately needed. So that would have been 1966, about August. Okay.
Now, Tommy, you're a Michigander?
Yes, I am. I'm from a little town, Niles, Michigan, over not too far from South Bend, Indiana, actually, over on the western side of the state, not far from Lake Michigan.
Now you didn't grow up though. You were born, I thought about not in Michigan though, right? Then you were
I was born in Ohio.
Okay.
And but Niles really became my hometown. We moved there afterwards, and so my whole career started out in Niles. I recorded Hanky Panky there at the radio station, and so I love going back there. I'm very proud of my little hometown.
How did you get with the Shondells? Now, how did this all come about?
Well, the Shondells was the name of the group that I had I actually started in junior high school, and we were a little cover band, and we played, VFW halls and American Legion, and finally, by the time I was out of high school, we had 2 little regional Michigan label deals. One was with a little outfit in Hastings, Michigan called Northway Sound, and that was when I was 14, and then when I was 16, we recorded Hanky Panky for a local DJ who started a little label called Snap Records, and that's really where my career started.
Wow.
And that song, Hanky Panky, that is... The one that is the hit is the original one that you recorded for Snap.
We never re-recorded it. It was the one we did in Niles, Michigan.
Wow.
Yeah. And so
what part of the state are you in, by the way?
We're in Owasso.
What part of the state is that?
Oh, it's over by Flint. You're Flint.
Oh, okay, sure.
It's just in the middle of the mitten.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
We're one of the fingers.
Yeah. We're in the...
Which one? That's the important.
Yeah, well, that's... let me look at my hand here real quick.
Boomer's just pulling your leg.
So, no, I grew up on the west side of the state. I grew up around Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Oh, sure.
So I know Niles very, very well. I know Niles, Michigan. I actually worked down in South Indiana for a long time. And
okay. We're going to be up in Michigan in September.
Oh, really?
We are. September 8th, we're going to be up in Manistee, Michigan at Little River Casino.
I like that casino. I lost a lot of money there.
We'll come and make it back.
I didn't know that. We're going to have to talk to the casino people up there and see what we can do.
September,
Come on up.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. Okay, so she brought something to my attention earlier. She she's a bookworm, so she got your book and she was like a kid in a candy shop with it. I mean, she was just...
I read it cover to cover, Tommy.
And, and some of
about 2 hours I read it all. I loved it.
So you got to explain something here. How did you come up with the song Mirage?
Well, Mirage was the follow-up to I Think We're Alone Now.
Yeah.
And what actually happened was, this is a true story, too. It sounds like a press agent made it up, but it was, Mirage was I Think We're Alone Now backwards.
That's what I told Boomer.
The way we heard it was, we had accidentally we were listening to a final mix of I Think We're Alone Now over at Richie's apartment. And we got the tape on upside down, and of course they played backwards, and we started listening to it backwards, and it was really a great little chord progression. It sounded great. So Richie and Bo Gentry went off in the corner and wrote it, and ended up being the next single, Mirage.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, she told me that this morning. I'm like, I'm not that Tommy that. That's crazy.
Isn't that nuts?
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that used to happen back then.
Mm-hmm. And you hear about, listening to the Beatles backwards and all that, and it's satanic ritual and all that. But you actually recorded a song.
We actually used it, yeah.
Yeah, that is so cool.
Here's something cool. Thank you, by the way, for sending the autographs.
Oh, yes.
Sure.
We'll be giving those away to listeners right after our interview.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Hope you liked it.
No, yeah, it's great that, I got the CDs too, gave me the CDs when they came in, and I was, of course, I've been playing off of them this morning, actually playing CDs.
Thank you.
Which is radio we never do anymore.
No.
That's 6 or 9 cents. It's 3 times every time you play. 3 cents,
we're getting ready to load you up here again after the interview, so you're going to get another 6 cents on the way as well.
We'll owe you a whole 20 cents before we
I'm getting it anywhere I can.
Yeah. So you have this album out now. It's a 40 Years the Complete Singles Collection that was shipped to us. It's 2-disc set.
Yeah, that's in the stores now, and it was really a labor of love putting it together because it's all of the singles from 1966 to 2006, and sequentially, and we've never had a package like that because before because it encompasses all the labels we were at, which was 5 of them basically, and so it's very difficult getting all that material in one package.
This is amazing.
We've never had it before.
And you have the original mono single versions out here too.
That's right. There's several of those. The first 12, I believe, are the original mono versions that really haven't seen the light of day since they were on 45.
Wow.
And so it was great. Mono singles are really interesting because they really, they were meant for the radio.
Yeah.
And so they have that real high impact kick drum and bass, where stereo just sort of takes everything and it makes it wide, but it isn't pointed, like the mono versions are. So I love the mono versions.
I just had one more question for you, Tommy. I was stunned when I read the book. What an impact Roulette Records had on you. Not because they were your company, the company you recorded for, but because of the fact that they had mob affiliation.
Oh, you
I
bet.
never realized that the mob has so much to do with rock and roll.
The thing that was the reason for the, it's called Me, the Mob, and the Music.
Right.
And the reason for the provocative title is that once we signed with Roulette, we started realizing what they were all about. Roulette was a front for the Genovese crime family in New York, in addition to being a functioning record label. And Morris Levy, the head of the record company, I can say this now because they've all passed away. But when we started writing this book, I was very concerned because
that they would
a couple of them were still walking around. And so we actually started the book almost 8 years ago. And we got about a third of the way into it. We decided we were going to call it Crimson and Clover and write a nice music book, about the hits and so forth. We got about a third of the way in and realized that if we didn't tell the whole story, we really were cheating everybody.
Right. You weren't telling the story.
So we basically couldn't talk about this for all this time, and finally in 2006, the last of the serious people, the Roulette regulars I call them, passed away, and we felt we could finish the story. And as soon as we did, we released the book last year, and the minute we released it, we started getting calls for the movie rights and the Broadway rights. And
I can't wait.
It's going to be a film now, produced by Barbara Defina.
Who's going to play you?
I have no idea. I'm way too cool. Walter Brennan. I don't know. It's going to be way too...
I volunteer for it.
It's going to be... the funny part is that... when you really start analyzing the movie, it's such a different animal than the Broadway show is going to be, because jukebox musicals are so popular now.
Oh, yeah.
And the Broadway show, which will be after the movie, is going to be there's going to be a lot of comedy in it, and it's going to be a lot of music. It's a musical.
Right.
But the movie is very serious and very dark and very sinister and very true.
Yeah.
We were really, we were really sort of held captive in this situation because we couldn't leave.
That's the impression I kept getting. Was like, I kept thinking to myself, why doesn't he and the Shondells just leave? And then I thought, well, wait a minute, they can't really because the mob are controlling them. And the truth of the matter is, Morris Levy never ever paid you any royalties.
Right. He would pay in different ways, like he'd give you toys. But I mean, the point was that when we tallied it all up with our accountants, we were owed somewhere between $30 and $40 million.
A lot of money.
And that's just the way it was. Now, of course, we've been making money in so many different ways, and we were making money from BMI and from ASCAP and from, of course, from touring and commercials and all the other things we were doing. So it wasn't like
you didn't really miss
or anything. But that's a lot of money for to be ripped off of, and so that was the whole point of the book. And we felt that, but I get to tell the story now, which is kind of comforting.
What amazed me more than anything is, despite how you were treated at Roulette, I mean, you were treated like a star, and yet not like a star. But despite all that, you were still very good friends with Morris.
Well, it's funny. I have always. Every time I go to say something really negative and nasty about Roulette and Morris Levy, I always got to stop myself, because the truth is, if it hadn't been for Morris Levy, there wouldn't have been a Tommy James. And that is true. And that's undeniable. And he put his money where his mouth was a lot. Of course, a lot of it was mine, but he made us stars. And there was no getting around it. And so I always have these sort of mixed feelings. I don't know why the good Lord blessed us through these crazy people, but he did. And that's really sort of, when I get there, it's one question I'm going to ask him.
Good for you.
Well, Well, Tommy, we're going to give you 6 more pennies here real quick. I know you're going to another interview coming up. You're a busy man and everything. Thank you for taking the time to join us this morning.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, guys.
For the listeners-wise, we got some CDs we're going to give away here coming up. First, let's go ahead and do I Think We're Alone Now, back-to-back with Mirage.
Cool.
That sounds good.
That's what we're going to do now. Tommy James. Thank you, Tommy.
Thank you, Boomer. Thank you, Sue.
Yes, the morning of the Big Kennedy, Michigan's Big Oldies.